Right, welcome. It's week 7, Barclays Premier League, and hair's a bit dishevelled. And I'm going to quickly run through the first fixture, which was played on Friday night. I'm doing this video on Saturday, eagerly awaiting the first Saturday fixture in about 30 minutes. That's going to be played between Sheffield United and Manchester City. But to last night's action, I've got my notes in hand here. It was at Molineux and it was Wolves at home to Crystal Palace. Both teams with an opportunity to get into that illustrious top 4 with a win. Surprisingly though, Nuno Espirito Santo continues to put Traore on the bench with another Moutinho, another of his regulars. He's bought some new players, but and preferring that experience on the bench. Van Aanholt was back for Palace, as was Dan, who's in for Cahill. Ayew back on the bench after his COVID quarantine. MacArthur was there as well after his slight injury. And Palace got off to a quick start. First minute, a shot over from Saha, and then up the other end, Podence had a shot on 8 minutes that was tipped over by Gaeta. 16 minutes, some really a nice flowing move by Crystal Palace led to a cross from Van Aanholt, and Batshuayi clinically finished it in the corner. But VAR had spotted that his foot was offside, so it was chalked off. Great move though. 17 minutes. Wolves got the breakthrough. Cross from the right was cleared to the edge of the box, and running in at full tilt was Ed Norrie. It was a new signing. It was his debut, and he hit a left foot shot which went in the corner. And he was absolutely ecstatic, surrounded by colleagues, and so they were 1-up. 20 minutes, Sameda had a strike which went just wide, and a few minutes later Dendolka hit the bar. Wolves were definitely in the ascendancy now, and on 26 they doubled their lead. Podence on the end of a really sweet move from a cross, and no chance for Gaeta, and it was 2-0. 35 minutes though, there was another opportunity for Dendolka to, but he was up the other end this time. Sorry, I've got my notes all wrong. 35 minutes, Palace had an opportunity, Dan, but Dendolka's foot blocked Dan's effort, and it went for a corner. Bolly looked to have committed a foul in the box, but VAR had a look at it, and apparently there was a previous offside before Bolly's offence, so it wasn't awarded. The interval then, Wolves comfortable 2-0. Second half, early on, Palace looking really energetic. A couple of early shots from Townsend, both blocked, and then Mila Hojlovic free kick on 63 went just over, but Wolves were still looking sharp. Podence particularly inches wide, and he's the guy who's keeping Traore on the bench, although Traore did come on, and he did look quite threatening late on. Right wing move, but his shot was battered away. Well, the game ran out a comfortable win for Wolves, but the only other thing worth of note was that the Crystal Palace captain Milivojevic managed to get himself a red card late on, which won't please his manager Hodgson. But Wolves are now into the top 3 after an indifferent start, but they're really looking strong now. Final score at Molineux then, Wolves 2, Crystal Palace 0. Okay, it's Saturday's action in the Barclays Premier League, and there were 3 fixtures. Before I get to the first ones, I just want to mention a website that I thoroughly recommend. It's called highlights.net, and it encompasses all the best action from around the world, but particularly in Europe. Is, however, prone to problems. In the week in the Champions League, we didn't seem to get the games very quickly. And there's also a lot of advert interruption on that. But on Saturday and Sunday they do the BBC's Match of the Day, and I've tuned in on a few occasions, and I did so this morning, and the quality was excellent. However, it's not always like that, so give it a try. Log it into Google Match of the Day and it will come up Sunday morning for you, and Monday morning, of course. Now to the action. We got started at Bramall Lane. Sheffield United at home to Manchester City. Sheffield United on a poor run, it has to be said. And Man City, well, they're a bit not the side they were, but they've still got a lot of class, but their results have been quite poor, particularly away from home. Anyway, Brewster was on debut for Sheffield United, Norwood and Burke on the bench with McGoldrick. For City, they had Diaz and Laporta in the heart of the defence. That's a newish combination. It appears that the other central defenders, Ake was coming back from an injury, but Otamendi is out of favour, and Stones, and no Fernandinho. I don't know what's happened to him, but in midfield they had De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva and Rodri. Foden was on the bench, and up front Torres with Sterling and Mahrez. Now Torres is a winger that they signed from Valencia, but he's in the attack up front because Aguero and Jesus are out with injury, and he's doing a pretty good job, has to be said. And it was him on 7 minutes that got a header on target after good work by Sterling, but Ramsdale was good enough in the Sheffield goal. But it was totally dominant possession by City. Basham on 12 minutes had to be evasive to deny Laporta up for a corner, and Rodri tested Ramsdale from distance, and then Ramsdale again on 23 minutes denied Torres from a couple of yards after Sterling's movement had created a space for a cross on the byline. 27 minutes though, Sheffield defence cracked. Again, some great work by De Bruyne, and work on the left as well before he got it. And he laid the ball in the path of Walker, who was coming up in support. Walker just outside the box hit the ball on the half volley, and it whizzed in the bottom corner of Ramsdale's goal. It was a really tasty strike, and that was 1-0 to City. Sterling looking really speedy, a lot of strength, very impressive, and he was involved again, but the Blaze defence good enough. Egan then brought down Torres just outside the box, but Ramsdale held De Bruyne's strike, which went under the wall. And then on just before the break, the Sheffield defender got a header from a corner, but it went over the top after defender. His name was Basham. My poor writing again, I just can't get a grip of it. Second half continued much as the first, with City dominating possession. They had a half chance for De Bruyne, but it went wide. A free kick on 56 minutes. Ramsdale had to come to the rescue again. And basically, it was a surprise that City didn't get a second. On 66 minutes, though, the Blades starting to look a little bit more purposeful, but still far too many balls across the field rather than forward. And the strikers, Brewster, really starved of any service. Norwood came on, and Lundstrom, who had been on the bench, and that seemed to inject a little bit of pace. Lundstrom was inches over after Berger got to the byline. But it was a disappointing second half, to be honest. City seemed to lack that cutting edge as well. Mahrez went off the boil, but they did enough at the end. And the final whistle arrived. Another defeat for Sheffield United. Things are getting rather worrying for them. Full-time score at Bramall Lane was Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 1. So we're off to the home of the champions, Anfield, of course. Liverpool at home for the improving West Ham. Liverpool, a couple of changes from that Champions League time midweek. They had Phillips making his debut at the back alongside Gomez, and Jones was in midfield. We've seen him in EFL matches. West Ham, a bit of a blow just before kick-off. Antonio ruled out with a hamstring problem, but their record signing Hallow was in from the start. Early action, and West Ham were on the ascendancy, and on 10 minutes a Gomez header was poor, and it ended up getting picked up by Fornells, and he basically found the corner of the net, and West Ham had taken the lead at Anfield. After that, Henderson had a shot just wide, and then a little bit deeper into the half, Masuatu managed to bring down Salah. It was a clear pen, and Salah jumped up to equalise, and that was it, 1-1 at the break. Into the second half, and West Ham still competitive. They had two half chances for Fornells early on. He could have done better, really, and then a counter-attack involving Jota, who'd come on, and he finished it off, but there was a VAR rule that there had been a foul prior to him getting the ball. But he got another opportunity on 85. Shaqiri, who had also come on, fed him with a delightful through ball, cutting West Ham's defence apart. And this time Jota latched onto it, and he shot it wide of the keeper. And that was Liverpool in front 2-1. That was how it finished. It was a tight match. Liverpool just about edging it, really. But Moyes, in interview, pleased with his troops. It was a fighting effort, and they've done very well in their last three games. 2 draws and a loss by the odd goal to Liverpool is a fair reflection of their improvement. So final score at Anfield, and this put Liverpool top of the table, by the way. Liverpool 2, West Ham 1. The third match then on Saturday. Turf Moor, Burnley at home to Chelsea. Chelsea looked pretty good in midweek in the Champions League. But this game signified 8 years in charge at Turf Moor for Sean Dyche. That's quite a long time. Stevens was in for Goodmanson for Burnley. And Lampard introduced Zuzek, a Moroccan, a new signing, into their side. And Werner eventually was selected. He was going to be rested on the bench, but Pulisic pulled out in the warm-up. So he was on as well. Early action, Loughton floated the ball over Chelsea's defence. Barnes ran onto it, and his effort was assisted over by Mendy. And Abraham header a little later was tipped wide by Pope. And then on 26 minutes, a delightful piece of play by Chelsea. Good build-up, pressure on the defence, created an error, and the new debutant, Zuzek, converted with a sweet finish with his left foot, and that was 1-0 Chelsea, and we're at minute 26. That's how it stood at half time into the second half, and Burnley again got a bit of grit in, but they seem to be having problems finding the net. But Barnes had a shot from distance, which wasn't too far wide. But then 63 minutes, a corner for Chelsea. Mount, who'd been impressive, he sent the corner over, and Zuma powered home a header. No chance for this, and that was 2-0 for the Blues. Big problems arrived a little later as well, as they Burnley gave the ball away in their own half, and Reece James right back capitalised on it, and he ended up feeding Werner, who then he ended up feeding Zuzek. I'm having trouble with that pronunciation. Who in turn fed a nice ball into Werner's path on the edge of the box, and he clipped it in the corner, and now Chelsea were running away with it. It was 3-0. That's how it finished. An impressive performance by Chelsea. Their new signings are really starting to gel now. In the starting lineup were Werner, Havertz, Zuzek, Mendy and Thiago Silva, and one other, but I can't remember his name. But all the new signings involved, and that spells good for Lampard. Deitch, well, he was still optimistic, even though Burnley are still struggling with only 1 point. But he ought to be looking at the goals for column, because it's dreadful. Final score, though, at Turf Moor was Burnley 0, Chelsea 3.